The 2025 NBA season has been off to a very peculiar start. You have the Milwaukee Bucks and the Philadelphia 76ers being horrendous. You have the Brooklyn Nets fighting like animals, and you have the best team in the NBA to be the Cleveland Cavaliers. But with that, it's time to do your first mock draft of the season. Now, the thing is, we're so early that the college kids have only played about 1 or 2 games each, and none of the apps that let you do mock drafts are actually pre-configured and preset the way that they're supposed to be. They still think it's 2024. Nerds, get it with the times. It's 2025. Donald Trump is president. So we have to use NBA 2K25 to simulate the draft, unfortunately. But without further ado, let's start with the #1 overall pick, which is laughably the Philadelphia 76ers. You can't make this up. They're so bad right now, and they're trying to win that they have the best odds to win the #1 pick, the exact same as when they were tanking for 7 years at a time. It's just, you can't make this stuff up. I don't expect them to be this bad moving forward. But at the end of the day, right now, they're the worst team in the NBA. Right now, they have their own pick. It's I want to say top 6 protected. So likely, once Joel Embiid comes back, once Tyrese Maxey comes back, once Paul George comes back, and they're all healthy for 2.5 games, then they'll start to play a little bit better. But for right now, they're the worst team in the NBA. They have the #1 overall pick, and Cooper Flagg looks to be that dude. Now, what to say? Cooper Flagg is interesting. And when you're talking about these #1 overall picks, there's the generational talent, the Victor Wembanyama, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, even though he went #3 overall. And then there's a little bit of a tier down. They're the pretty good, the Cade Cunninghams, I want to say Anthony Edwards, but he's turned into a superstar. There's the really bad draft classes like the Anthony Bennett, Zachariah Risache draft classes where anybody could get #1. And we're sort of in that middle tier. We're not in the Hall of Greatness, the Hall of Fame, but we're in the Hall of pretty good. And Cooper Flagg is pretty good. Now, his shooting is atrocious. He has that one problem where through his youth, all the coaches are like, 10 toes to the basket, make sure you're square in a line. And that's just not how it works. You see modern shooters and modern shooting coaches, you want to be off a little bit to the side with your shooting motion. So when he shoots his free throws, it's ugly. He's got a Russell Westbrook looking stroke. When he shoots his 3-pointers and he's squared up to the basket, he misses a lot. If he just tweaks it a little bit, turns his feet about 20 degrees, the shot's going to come along. And it's funny, you see the shots that he's making at Duke, when his feet are a little off center and it's more natural for his body to go, his right foot is forward, he splashes. When he's squared up, he misses. The rest is solid. He's a good, not great athlete, 6'9", 200 and we'll say 205, 210. He can jump, he can pass, he can handle, he can run the point forward for you. He's like a souped up, undersized big, shades of Magic Johnson, shades of Scottie Pippen. I don't know if he's good enough to single-handedly carry a team to the championship. He's just not a Victor Wembanyama generational guy, but he is a good player, and he is going to be going #1 overall to the Philadelphia 76ers. Imagine a Cooper Flagg, Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, and Joel Embiid lineup with everybody healthy. #2 is to the Toronto Raptors, who are doing a very good job at figuring out how to tank while remaining competitive. Scotty Barnes is out with injury. He always gets these weird freak injuries. This time it's an orbital fracture. Emmanuel Quickley is fine. RJ Barrett is fine. Grady Dick is improving, but for the most part, this team needs help. Now, at #2, there's a couple of places you want to go. Dylan Harper, who's been playing really well. You have Ace Bailey, who hasn't played yet. And you have Igor Demon out of BYU. I don't know if anybody has seen BYU games, but he looks to be the real deal. Now, the problem is Ace Bailey hasn't played a minute of college basketball, so I don't know how good he is. I just have to go off what other people are saying, and they're saying he's the 2nd best player in the class. High upside, freak athlete forward, great size, tough shot maker, two-way guy, and by all accounts, Ace Bailey can do a little bit of everything. Unfortunately, he missed the only game of Rutgers that I was able to see, but for now, he's going to go #2 overall and fill out that great two-way sort of small forward, power forward, going to form a great duo in Toronto. What would their lineup look like? IQ at the 1, RJ, or Ace Bailey at the 2, and then the 3, and then Scotty at the 4, and God, get rid of Jakob Poeltl at the 5. That would be a pretty good team. #3 is where the fun starts to happen. Now, if I'm the New Orleans Pelicans, let's see, we have DeJounte Murray coming back from injury. You're kind of looking for a good 2-guard, and Dylan Harper makes a lot of sense. I was impressed with the way that he processes the game when I was watching his tape. I mean, the dude just plays like a 5 or a 10-year veteran. He's so smart off-ball defense. He's a good on-ball defender. He's a decent passer facilitator. He's not, you know, a Luka Doncic sees the court at a high level. He's the next tier down, kind of a BB plus court vision. but he's so smooth with the ball and he understands and processes the game. The problem is he's a really bad athlete. And people are saying, oh, he's explosive. He's not. He can barely dunk the ball. He's not very quick. He doesn't have a quick first step. He's strong, though. He's sturdy. He's 6'5", 215, 220 maybe. He's got a lot of muscle to him, grown man strength. I don't know if he's a top 5 talent physically, but the way the NBA is played today, you need to process the game at a high level, and he certainly does that. The other guy who I would take number 3 overall is Igor Demin, a really good point guard. He's got a lot of Josh Giddey to him in that he sees the court incredibly well. I think he's a better passer and understands the court a lot better than Josh Giddey does. Does have some turnover issues, and he's a young guy. I think he's the youngest guy coming out of the draft class, at least in the top 10. He's also playing on BYU, so a lot of the teams that they play are horrific. But he already has a great chemistry with a lot of the teammates. He throws a lot of lobs, a lot of backdoor cuts. He's got good size. He is wiry, though, skinny. He can get beat pretty easily on the defensive end. People can push him out of the way. He doesn't play defense all that well. He doesn't have defensive instincts, so he's really just a pass-first point guard. And as we saw in New Orleans, they drafted a similar prospect in Dyson Daniels, and then they traded for DeJounte Murray, so I just don't think point guard is on the agenda for the New Orleans Pelicans. So I think taking a combo guard here in Dylan Harper, who can play a bit of defense, who can shoot the ball pretty well, is going to be the right move. Now, Dylan Harper sucks at the free throw line. It's hilarious. He's a lefty, so his shot always looks funny when you're watching. But from the three-point line, natural, pure. From the free throw line, he's got this horrific Russell Westbrook 2-motion free throw shot. He's probably going to be shooting 50% from the free throw line until they fix that. But his three-pointer works, so it's a little bit of a weird thing here. We'll see how the three-pointer comes along in the season. Maybe they do tweak some of his jump shooting. But Dylan Harper, I really like the way he processes the game, and he's going to be number 3 overall until we see some of the other guys. Now, I can't really go into some of the guys out of France. Nolan Traore, Noah Essengue. Who's the other guy? Rocco Zikarsky. I mean, just these guys, they play international, and I can't tell you how hard it is to find tape on international guys. You can play highlights all you want, but you don't learn anything from highlights when you're trying to grade NBA players. So we're going to have to do our best with what we got, which brings us to number 4 overall, the Utah Jazz, best player available, and I think the best player is Igor Demin. I could see Igor going number 2 overall. I could see him jumping up to number 1 overall if his scoring comes along too. The dude is a do-it-all point guard, and the size is incredible. 6'9" as well. That's the exact same size as Cooper Flagg, a lot skinnier. I love his game. The Utah Jazz are desperately in need of a point guard, and they're desperately in need of talent and a top 5 pick at that. So he's going to go number 4 overall, which brings us to number 5. Now, the Washington Wizards are a similar team to the Utah Jazz, and they could use a point guard. Jordan Poole is still starting for them. Yikes. And Nolan Traore seems to be that dude. By all reports, he's an elite level point guard prospect, do a little bit of everything. Pass, shoot the 3, defend on ball. He's a tick undersized at 6'4", 180 with a 6'8" wingspan. A good shooter, finishes in traffic, and he's a lock for the top 5 pick. We just need to see some tape on him out of France, which we have not seen yet. But Nolan Traore is going to go number 5 with the opportunity to be a little bit higher as well, bringing us to number 6 overall, the New Orleans Pelicans again. And the number 3 overall pick was actually belonging to the Bucks. That pick is top 5 protected, and it's unlikely the Bucks are going to do this bad, or they're not going to fire Doc Rivers by the time they reach 20 games into the season. So I don't expect the New Orleans Pelicans to have 2 top 6 picks. It's just the way that the NBA is broken out today. And number 6, this should be a VJ Edgecombe spot. I watched his tape at Baylor. I know it was just one game. I think it was against Gonzaga. He sucks. He does not process the game. Let's start with, he can't shoot. That's a little bit of a problem in today's NBA. Let's start with, he's only 6'4". This says he's 6'5". He's not. Let's start with, he has no wingspan, 6'6". Let's start with, he is a poor playmaker with the ball in his hands. Let's start with the fact that he's not an elite athlete. He can jump high, but he doesn't have verticality. He doesn't have Jaden Ivey burst. He doesn't have Davion Mitchell side-to-side speed. All he can do is jump up and down at a high level, which lets him get the occasional good weak side block. But that's it. VJ Edgecombe's strengths is off-ball help defense. And I just can't imagine taking a guy who sucks at shooting, sucks at passing, sucks at getting to the rim, sucks at finishing, he lacks creativity, and isn't a great on-ball defender going in the top 6. I'm sorry, VJ Edgecombe is one of those guys who's either going to fall into the second round like Brandon Boston did, who went to the Clippers and developed for a few years. Now he's coming on against the Pelicans like 5 years into his career. He's going to have to go into multiple seasons in the NCAA like Quentin Grimes and become a specialist, but VJ Edgecombe is not a top 10 talent. That might be my hot take. I might be putting out a video with all of the lowlights of VJ Edgecombe. I was horrendously unimpressed with basically his entire game other than his verticality and his ability to read the play on off-ball defense, which even then he gave up multiple backdoor cuts. So VJ Edgecombe is not going number 6 overall, which means the next best player available, we're going to go with Noah Essengu, 6'10", 195 wing player, again out of France. He's going to be a really raw athlete, very fluid, quick. His offense is coming along, and we need to see a lot more of his game before you have a decision what his talents are going to be. But at the very least, he's going to be a freak athlete. Think Tijuan Salon from last year's draft. Think Zachariah Risache from last year's draft. Just 6'10", long wingspan is exactly what you're looking for in today's NBA. And with your second top 5 pick, you can't go wrong with Noah Essengu, a home run, high upside pick. Now to number 7 with the Portland Trail Blazers. Now I'm seeing a lot of Con Knipple, which is a hilarious name, by the way. He's not even in this draft class, is he? Conrad Con Knipple is how they pronounce his name. And if you don't want a nipple on your team, maybe you need two. But he is not a top 10 player. He's good at one thing and one thing only, and that's shooting the ball. He may be able to shoot 50% from the 3-point line, but he doesn't read defense as well. He's a really horrific athlete. He gets blown by a lot. He doesn't read offense as well. He doesn't really do anything other than shoot the ball well. So to me, Con Knipple is probably top 20. Maybe you go to a team who really needs shooting and doesn't mind having a bad defender, but he's comparable to AJ Green, Sam Merrill, Max Strus. And now with the Portland Trail Blazers, you just want to go best player available. And I think that's going to have to be, oh no, is he not on this rotation? Asa Newell out of Georgia. He's another high upside, swing for the fences forward. He's not on the rotation. Okay. He's a freak athlete, can jump you out of the gym, works hard, does all the dirty work, is working on shooting the 3-ball, and overall just those freak athlete players you want to go in on. Now, I could go Trey Johnson here as well, but they got too many guards in this room already. You got Scoot Henderson with the number 3 overall pick. You got Anthony Simons, potential all-star talent. You got Shaden Sharp, number 5 overall pick. They traded away Malcolm Brogdon, right? Just too many guards, too many ball-dominant guys who need the ball in their hand guards. Just makes no sense for the Trailblazers. So Trey Johnson would be the other pick you want to take top 10 here, but I'm going to go and swing for the fences with a big 6'10" freak athlete forward in Asa Newell. Here at number 8 is the Spurs, and once again, straightforward, right out of Texas. Let's get the scoring guard. He's a bucket getter from all levels on the court. Richard Hamilton sort of comparisons to his game. He's smooth with the ball. Not a great athlete, but the Spurs don't need great athletes. They need shooting. They need scoring on their team. Stephen Castle can't shoot. You got Victor Wembanyama, who's going to have more gravity than a fucking black hole. There's Keldon Johnson. Devin Vassell hasn't played basketball in a year. You just need players who can score, and Trey Johnson does exactly that. Moving us to number 9, and I'm going to go a little bit different here. Now, Kadeen Maluak is theoretically the best center on the team here. I don't like, beyond his build, I don't really like the way that he plays the game. He can't shoot. He doesn't really process the game at a high level. He's just a freaky 7'2" athlete who can jump, who's athletic, and who's learning to play the game. He's one of these guys who didn't learn to play basketball until they were like 14 or something. So he's really just struggling to adjust to NCAA offenses, and then he's going to have to struggle to adjust to NBA offenses. And he's not there mentally. So I would go with the other guy out of France. Again, we need to see these guys a little bit more. Also, we spelt Rocco Zakarski's name wrong. It's fine. Another 7'3", solid defender, solid rim protector, has a little bit of ability shooting as well, which is what you want to see from your bigs. So the two choices from the center position is, do you want to go all athlete, which we've seen before, Alexander Sarr, Derek Lively, Mark Williams, or do you want to go with a guy who's got more offensive potential, Yusuf Nurkic, Nikola Jokic? And for me in today's NBA, I'm always looking offense. Offense matters more than defense, unfortunately. You can make smart rotations, but you can't replace the 3-point shot, whereas Rudy Gobert is only going to get you so far in the playoffs. So I'm going with the other center here for the Miami Heat. I know they just took Khalil Ware. He's going to take at least 3-4 more years to develop. He is a super raw player who just doesn't process the game at a high level. I think Rocco Zakarski is a plug-and-play center. I think he makes Bam Adebayo expendable. I think they need to blow up the core. If I'm the Miami Heat, I'm looking to go in a new direction because this team is presently constructed. Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo is not able to win a championship. We've seen twice now, and I'm going for an all upside center, which brings us to the final pick of the draft, the Brooklyn Nets. And I don't know, they're in a weird space. They need to go all upside as well. There's just not a lot of all upside players that you can really fall for here. Maybe Hugo Gonzalez is the right pick. Just another player who plays internationally that I haven't seen. He's a good scorer, good cutter, good off-ball player. Doesn't really play with the ball in his hands too much, which is going to pair well with Cam Thomas. And so let's go all offense to round out the top 10. Hugo Gonzalez out of España to the Brooklyn Nets is going to round out this year's draft class for the mock draft of the top 10 2025 prospects. And I know it's going to be subject to change for the fact that we haven't even seen half of these guys play because they're playing in fucking Spain and France and whoever knows. You ever try to Google a ULM France basketball stream? It's impossible. Cooper Cup is my consensus number 1, Ace Bailey number 2 until we see otherwise. Dylan Harper 3, although I don't love his athleticism. I love how he processes the game. And VJ Edgecombe falls way, way down. Let me know what your thoughts are with this mock draft, what you'd agreed with, what you disagreed with, and I'll catch you in the next one.